All right, let's kick off the conference program with the integrated and omni-channel keynote. At this presentation, we will explore the changing world of commerce as we move beyond omni-channel retail to convergent commerce. Using examples from around Asia and the world, we will showcase how, at the same time as the number of touch points are increasing, digital and physical environments are converging. Our speaker, Jane Lattimore, has over 20 years of experience in market research, spanning both UK, Malaysia, and now the Asia-Pacific region. Jane is the Regional Service Line Leader for Market Strategy and Understanding of APAC at Ipsos. She leads Ipsos's Market Strategy and Understanding Business Unit across Asia, helping clients answer strategic business questions across a wide range of topics, from understanding consumption and shopping behavior to developing brand strategies, all of which has been thoroughly fascinating through 2020 to 2022. So Jane will be on air real soon, so stay tuned.
Hi everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me to take part in this event today. I'm really excited to be here to talk about the latest omnichannel trends in Asia. I think it's not going to be any surprise to anybody that shopping behavior has changed so much in the last 2 years. But what's really important to realize is that this is just an acceleration of a progress that was already happening. So we're already seeing shifting dynamics in the shopping behavior. And today I really want to help look at what's happened, what's going to continue happening, and what we can expect to happen in the future. So if we go back a while and start thinking about where we used to have a sort of multi-channel approach to shopping. So we had binary silos. We had online or offline shopping. Very rarely did they cross over. And it was very much a consumer-initiated relationship. I wanted to buy something, I went out to buy it. And there was just transactions. There wasn't really a relationship between me and the retailer or between me and the brand that I was buying per se. I was just going out and buying it. And then gradually we moved into more omnichannel, where we saw much more interaction between online and offline channels. We saw people engaging with brands and retailers through different touch points, and we were expecting a far more frictionless experience. We wanted everything to be very, very easy and seamless across different channels. And it was all about me as a shopper. And what we're now seeing as we go further, as things are changing, is this convergent commerce. The number of channels that we can buy things from now or get information from now has absolutely exploded. And there's a huge convergence between buying online and offline, the different touch points you'll interact with or the different place that you'll purchase. And it's also becoming, again, more personal. We're looking at different experiences when it comes to discovery and inspiration of what we want to buy. Let's have a quick look at some data. So we at Ipsos asked our people around the world, I think this was in 16 countries around the world, whether or not they've bought anything online in the last 2 years. And of course, it's huge. 73% of people have bought something online. And you can see there the breakdown of the different ways that people are buying online. 73% of people have bought something online and had it delivered. And that's huge around the world. And if we look at people across Southeast Asia and we ask them whether or not they're buying more or less online, in November 2021, we saw that 50% of people across markets in Southeast Asia are claiming to buy more online now than they were 6 months previously in May. And given that this was towards the end of the pandemic, we're seeing that purchasing online continuing to increase, at least in a consumer and a shopper's mind. But digital channels are really proliferating and fragmenting. We at Ipsos have been talking about this sort of alphabet soup of shopping. You've got Q-commerce for quick commerce, you've got e-commerce, you've got m-commerce, you've got v-commerce for voice commerce, you've got AR, VR. There's so many different ways of interacting with shopping channels, retailers and brands now. But when we look at where people are buying, what's really interesting for me is to see that, yes, of course, people are buying from online marketplaces or retailer websites. But it's those at the bottom of the list, the social commerce, the quick commerce, that are really growing, the smaller, newer channels that are coming through. And what we'll see as we look at some more data and some of the trends is this is particularly strong across Asia. But what really is important and critical for us to remember as marketers and brands and retailers is that as a shopper, I don't think in channels. I don't think about where I'm actually going to buy the product that I want to buy. As marketers, we used to think about journeys as quite linear. We had a living stage where people were interacting and using a brand or a product, and then they would realize they needed to buy something, so they would do some searching, develop some awareness around a brand. Then they might consider, where do I want to buy? What do I want to buy? Where's the best deal? Where's the biggest bargain, the promos, etc., before we actually go into the buying. And that was like the final opportunity for marketers to have an impact and make us change our mind with, point of sale materials or in-store promotions, etc. So we used to think of this as quite a linear journey, and we would be able to identify which touch points had the strongest pull or push at different phases throughout that process. But then we started to see these journeys change. And we kind of identify and bucket them into two. One is this really truncated journey. I'm scrolling through Instagram or I'm scrolling through Facebook and I go, oh, look, buy now, and click buy now and buy it straight away. So your purchase is so quick. You're doing no exploring. You're doing real impulse purchasing, in which case the journey becomes more about what happens afterwards. It becomes more about the delivery, the unboxing, the whole idea around having to return or use the product and so on. But then we also saw a much longer journey start to develop, where you might be using a product, you might have some issues or some problems, or you might love it, but you start to explore different options. You start to evaluate different options. You start to read feedback and reviews online from whatever website you're looking at, from brands, from influencers, all of these elements that then feed into what you eventually decide to buy. So we have that whole ecosystem at the beginning where we need to make sure that we are present and positive and give people a good impression so that they will then choose to buy us. What we're seeing now with this proliferation of touch points and channels is this enormous ecosystems being built. Individual consumers and shoppers have developed these own ecosystems that they know who and where they're going to get to, and it's not linear. We don't do each touch point in a particular order. And it makes our lives so complicated. These ecosystems are global and they are 24/7. We're not just getting information from brands that sit in Malaysia or from websites that sit in Malaysia. We're influenced by people from the US, from Europe, from China. We are influenced from everyone, and we can be influenced 24/7. So we, as brands and marketers, really need to make sure that we are present everywhere where our shopper or consumer is, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we need to make sure that their experience is truly optimal. A really good example across Southeast Asia of a nice ecosystem is Grab. When Grab first launched and we were all just using it for cars, and now you go onto the app and it's just scrolling like crazy because they do absolutely everything. You can now book holidays, you can book hotels, you can get insurance, you can pay for products, you can do gifting, you can do all sorts of things within the Grab app. And that's great for us because we've got a one-stop shop to do absolutely everything. If I've forgotten that one ingredient that I really need for dinner, I no longer have to go out, get in my car, drive to the supermarket, find somewhere to park, and then navigate to find that one product. I can instead do it all through Grab and have it delivered to me within a perfectly reasonable amount of time. And what Grab has also done is they're moving as well into the retail world and the physical world by being able to use Grab Pay and Grab Rewards whenever you buy anything from a different store. You are bought into the brand because you use it for so many different things that when you want to go to a store and you can pay using your Grab credits and you get then more reward points thrown on top of it, it's a win-win on both sides. So this is a really good example of how a company has brought us all in from a simple premise and really tried to tie us and hold us into the brand. It's a really strong ecosystem. But we're seeing this in other ways as well. So I've got two examples here. The first one on the left is this whole idea of expansion of F&B in retail. So supermarkets and KL are doing this more and more often as well. Here on the left is an example of the big supermarket, where while you're doing your weekly grocery shop and you're wandering around and your feet start to hurt or your child's getting cranky, you can stop, have a cup of tea, have some oysters at Shucked. You can stop and have a break. And it just creates this bigger environment and engagement with the brand. It becomes more of an experience and becomes much more important to your day. It's not just another chore. You can make it something that's quite enjoyable. On the other side, we have brands like Samsung. And Samsung have also created a massive retail commerce ecosystem. Samsung products you can buy online, you can buy in-store. But what's really good about Samsung, and not just Samsung, Apple, all of the other big Googles, Androids, they all do the same sort of thing, is that they're all linked together through this whole idea of the Internet of Things, right? So if I own a Samsung phone, it's going to be much easier for me to then continue to buy all of the Samsung Android products so that they link together easily, and I can get my wonderful smart fridge to tell me when I need more milk, and I can go out and get Grab to deliver it for me without having to actually do anything apart from pick up my phone. So this is all about making my life and my world really, really as convenient as possible. And convergent commerce, this proliferation of touch points, this proliferation of channels and ways in which we can shop, we're seeing it really converge. So once we're in a store now, we can do a lot of research actually at the shelf. We can get our phones out, which we always have on us. We can get our phones out, scan QR codes to get information. There's a QR code for this event, for example, which you can easily just access additional information. So there's all of this extra shopping that we can do. And depending on what you're shopping for, you can also be in store looking at a product, pick up your phone, go to Lazada, see if you can get a better price deal somewhere else, see if there's a different brand, look at reviews. All of these things show you how that world of commerce is coming together in one whole space. And then we have obviously the emergence of tech. And I think this is still a little bit in its infancy, this whole idea of multiple realities, and the engagement of virtual reality or augmented reality. We've seen a lot of beauty brands take up the augmented reality world where you can be in a hairdresser, I think it was in Korea or Japan, you can be in a hairdresser and you can just press buttons on a screen and see in the mirror what different hairstyles, different hair colors would look like. We see that with certain makeup brands where you can try makeup on before you buy, before you test it. Again, particularly important throughout the pandemic when nobody was really wanting to test and sample products. So really lend in to the tech and the new tech that enables us to do it. And then, of course, you've got your quick commerce. I've already harped on about Grab and how wonderful they are, but this whole idea that you can do all of this from the comfort of your home. But this huge increase in the number of touch points has a really big impact on us as marketers and brand managers and retailers. We now have so many different ways to reach and communicate with our shoppers, our potential consumers. And a whole lot of it is now completely out of our control. And that's scary, right? That's really quite scary. How do you manage what somebody is putting up on social media? How do you manage what somebody is saying online about you? If people are looking at ratings and reviews, how do you control those annoying people who put 1-star review because of something that was completely out of your control? So all of these things are having a huge problem on us and how we manage that, how we pick and choose what we can control and what we can manage. It's a real brain ache, I'm sure, for all of the marketing and brand teams out there. And talking about social commerce, this is what it's just referring to, this idea that it's out of your control. I love the example in the middle, which is an ocean spray example from TikTok. Some guy, I'm going to tell you the story in case you haven't heard it. Some guy, he breaks down on the side of his road and he gets his skateboard out and he's skating down the road to a song, drinking ocean spray, recording himself on TikTok. The impact that that really short TikTok had on ocean spray, as well as the song, who's currently slipped my mind, it just blew up. Sales blew up. Everything happened. It was a really positive effect for both the musicians as well as the ocean spray brand. And they had nothing to do with it. Completely spontaneous, organic development of their brand. That was a really positive story, but imagine if that was negative experience and somebody blew up a really negative experience with your brand or product. So again, completely out of your control. So we really need to be flexible in the way that we manage our brand, more so now than ever before. And there are so many examples of this. Another one that comes to mind from quite recently was when, I think it was Ronaldo during the World Cup, put the Coke to one side and focused instead on water. How does Coke respond to that? And suddenly they've got lots of panic meetings about the impact that this is going to have. Again, completely out of their control. Something that's really developing and taking off, especially across Asia, driven largely by China, but we'll go through the data in a second, it's really taking off across Asia, is this whole idea of live stream. Now, I'm an older person, and I remember QVCs of the world and the tele-shopping channels that I used to call in to buy things. And this is essentially just an evolution of that, right? You've got key opinion leaders, influencers, standing up on stage telling us why they should buy a product. And it's working. In China, it's expected to be about 20% share of retail business. And if we look at the data on the right, this is across Southeast Asia, you can see that awareness is really high, which is the blue bar, but actually people buying is really high. We're looking at 30 to 40% of people in most markets have bought something through a live stream shopping channel. And this is just going to keep getting better. It's a fun, engaging way for people to shop, again, from the comfort of their own home or from the store where they're having down their nasi lemak. And it's huge. These are the numbers coming out of China, and I'm sure they're not unknown to anyone on this call right now. The sales and the products that are being sold are enormous, and it's just going to keep getting bigger. Some other really interesting data that came out of our global trends study was all about trusting online recommendations. And I've highlighted this here, and I've not fixed this data. It's completely true. Trust in online recommendations from a well-known site and app is so high in Asian markets. You can see Philippines is absolutely top. Then we have India, Indonesia, and China. So it's a huge responsibility for marketers to make sure that they're getting positive recommendations online from trusted sources, because that's really going to help people feel confident in buying from you. I've quickly touched already on the role that augmented and virtual reality has played. The last one I really want to talk about is way off in the future, but probably not that far, not that way off, is the role of the metaverse and meta-commerce that's likely to come with it. We're already seeing talk of NFTs, Nike having NFTs, Instagram is talking about incorporating NFTs into their platforms. Meta, Facebook are already talking about this whole metaverse reality, and we see it already within the gaming world. This is just going to keep blowing up and keep getting bigger, and it's something we need to bear in mind, because in all worlds, this world moves faster than we're always playing catch up. But something that's really personal to me and really critical to me when I think about this, and buying online in particular over the last 2 years, is this whole idea of avoiding Pandora's box. A lot of the journey has now shifted to after receiving a product or after buying online, and it's having a huge impact on how we feel as shoppers, but also what role brands can play. So if you think about it, you've chosen the product that you want to buy, and now you need to go and pay for it. How many times have I tried to pay for something online and the system has failed, or the tech hasn't worked, or my MSOS code hasn't come through in time? All of these things can have a huge impact on whether or not I'm going to actually end up buying the product. Packaging is the bane of my life. The number of times I receive non-breakable, non-fragile products that are wrapped in bubble wrap, which is then wrapped in plastic and then put in a plastic bag for shipping. There is so much plastic waste that has happened as a result of e-commerce proliferation and growth. And it's a real challenge for brands, because a lot of the time, if these are being bought through third parties and the brand themselves want to have a sustainable message, how can we manage what is coming out of the actual store, of the actual channel or platform, to make sure that it reflects our sustainable point of view? I saw actually yesterday, L'Oreal have just announced that across Southeast Asia, they're working with Lazada and Shopee to really build that whole idea around sustainable packaging when you buy their brands from these sites. So hopefully we're moving in the right direction with that. But then finally, there's the expectation, right? The whole unboxing experience has become, through e-commerce, the shopping experience. It's the first time we really get to engage with the product, to play with the product, to see it and try it, which is great if everything goes well. But what happens if you've actually bought the wrong product, or it arrives and it's broken, or it doesn't work, or it's really difficult to install? How easy is the returns process? How easy is it to get things back to where you bought them from in the first place? So all of these things can have an impact on how I, as a shopper and a consumer, feel about the product that I've bought. And it can have an impact on the brand, even though, once again, it's potentially completely out of your control. So very quickly at the end here, I want to talk about physical retail. Malaysia is known to have a few malls. There's quite a few in KL. And it's actually been really sad over the last couple of years to see the number of shops that have closed and the number of malls that have been vacant. I work at Mid Valley, and it was really interesting to pop into the office during the middle of the pandemic and just see this empty, barren mess. There was just nothing there. And it was really sad. But physical retail isn't going anywhere. So this is for grocery, and I've stolen it from IGD, who have done some trend prediction of where we'll be with grocery channel. It's not completely possible to say that this will apply to all channels or all categories, but what we'll notice straight away is that yes, online is going to grow, but so is physical retail. It's not going anywhere. So we have to keep thinking about what we're going to do with the actual store. And in some other research that we've done, we also found that 97% of people who've shopped online have also said that they're shopping in store. So again, physical retail is not going anywhere at all. But the challenge is, what do we do to keep it engaging? Because you have to actually physically get out of your seat, into your car, and drive somewhere to do a physical experience shopping. And as much as I'm happy to see the pandemic over, it's really quite stressful going back to Mid Valley now, because it's super busy, lots and lots of people. So the idea is to make that shopping experience more engaging to the shopper. We have to look at how we can use technology. There's a lot of examples, not necessarily from our part of the world, but with Walmarts and Amazons opening stores where you can just walk in and out and it's your mobile phone that does the payment. There's some good examples coming out of China, Korea, Japan on this as well. We can look at using a physical store for marketing, for those products that we want to touch and feel before we buy them. We can use them for a human experience. I'm sorry, but nothing will beat a human conversation. Not even a live chatbot can beat a human conversation. And we want them to be experiences. We've seen brands like Nike launch huge installations just to get people to come in and really get a feel for the brand essence. But then also attached to this is the functional and logistics part of shopping. So we need to be able to pick up and buy a product, but actually now carrying it to your car. Well, why would I do that? I can get someone to deliver it for me because that's what we've been used to for the last few years. So we need to start as retail side of things, thinking about how we overcome those barriers and getting a rug that I bought, for example, in Mid-Valley and then had to carry myself to my car. That was definitely a strange experience. The store wasn't prepared to help me overcome that. That could have put me off buying it. But the other side of retail is that we're also seeing a lot of online players moving to retail stores. Here we just have some basic headlines. But a few years ago, before the pandemic, I actually listened to Christy Ng talk about how she was moving her online shoe store into physical stores. And so we're already seeing this move that people want to have something more tangible to interact with. So what's next? What do we actually do about all of this? The key critical thing for me across all of this information that I've presented and shared is that we need to remember that shoppers are not bits of data. We are not numbers in a system. Everyone at the moment has lots and lots of big data available to us. We know what products people are buying. But what we don't have is necessarily the human side of things. We don't know why they're doing particular things. That data can't tell us that. So we just need to remember that our shoppers, our users, our consumers are people at the end of the day. So we need to think about building our commerce ecosystems around those consumer needs, journeys, and aspirations. We need to keep thinking about them and what they want to do and what they need. We can also look at co-creating with consumers to really create optimal brand experiences and channel activations. So we know what they want and we're working with them so that we've got that partnership and it helps us to really understand the ecosystems that they are coming up with. And we need to humanize the actual experience. We can't just keep throwing ads out and just irrelevant things. Lazada notifications I get on my phone can really frustrate me because they're not relevant to what I actually want. So we need to make sure to humanize that whole experience, keep it personal, keep it engaged, and think about that lovely person sitting on their couch, deciding what it is that they want to buy. It's not going to be an easy future. It's going to be challenging and it's going to change really, really quickly. But if we keep thinking about the people, then we will have success at the end of it. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this.